Hello! So in this video I'm going to show you the wet into wet painting technique. So what this is about is blending different colours together to create a more of a harmonious effect. So a friend of mine was asking about kind of different techniques that can be used, and he's been like really spending a lot of time being creative and really using different materials, and I would probably consider that it's maybe a little bit out of his comfort zone, so I really praise that. And I think it's really endearing to consider that lots of people would be unfamiliar with different art techniques. And so actually on many occasions, and I think different people over different time have asked about like, what should I do next, and what's the different kind of techniques that I could use? Could you show me some ideas, because I'd like to improve my art. Now, as an art therapist, I advocate the sort of therapeutic benefits of art, whilst there's not any sort of pressure to make a piece of art look in a certain way for the therapy to be beneficial. But what a lot of people find is that there's a real frustration about not being able to achieve what they're setting out to. So for instance, with this, the colours are largely separate. I've done a little bit blending almost by accident there, but largely separate. I've gone for orange and yellow and orange and red again. So with the wet into wet technique, it goes on the premise that we can be painting different sections and painting them together. So here I've just got the primary colours, red, yellow and blue. So mixing a bit of red and yellow together to make an orange. And actually that can be mixed straight onto the piece of paper sometimes, or it can be mixed on the palette. It's up to you. So with this, and if we're going for like a red further along, I'm layering the paint up. So I've got some parts of it that are quite solid and quite thick, and other parts that are more watery. So if I added lots more water here and let that spread out, then that's going to add a completely different effect, different style and different way that it looks. So it might be something that you want to play around with. It might be an effect that the effect that you want might be to have something quite smooth and quite light and airy. In fact, you'd probably go for even more water to give a bit of a wash in the background. And then with these parts, what we've got is a little bit of the red going into a little bit of the orange, and then bringing a little bit more of the orange back into the red. So we can bring that back in here. So at the moment, what we can see is there's a gradual blend from the red to the orange, but then so far we've got a solid leap towards the yellow. So once again, we'd bring a little bit of the yellow into the orange. So this is all wet paints, it's the wet into wet. And then effectively that's making that part of the yellow a bit more orange. So different amounts of red and yellow together will determine the colours. And here, to be fair, that's largely become orange. So we can bring in a bit more yellow at this side. And just have a little play around with it. You might like to have the thickness of the paint there. Maybe we'll bring a bit more of the water to have a little bit of a wash. So feels really nice to use these colours this time of year, because I love seeing the leaves changing in the autumn, and I love seeing, it's really nice to have like some bright colours when it's starting to get dark outside and it's starting to feel a lot colder than it has been, and that the wind's picking up and everything. So starting to think about as the year's coming to an end. So choosing colours that are bright do really appeal to me personally. So maybe, yeah, a little bit of yellow across here, building up some layers. So there, if you want to sort of disguise the brush strokes, then water can help with that as well. So you can almost like let water drip onto the paper. You can use different things, different tools to work with. Like you might want to use the end of a brush to draw into, stuff like that. So I would say that this, like lots of techniques, is something that takes a bit of practice, and it takes you as an individual deciding what sort of effects you like and what sort of things work for you, whether you want to have more contrast, whether you like having sort of blends of colour. We're going for like some splodges, whether you like things to be more spontaneous and what I would describe as being more expressive, or whether you want something to be more controlled and really thinking about the shapes that you're painting within. So it's all about having a little play and see what comes up to it. So over to you. Bye for now.